is our last lecture of GIT. We are going to discuss oral cavity and salivary glands. So first of all, in the oral cavity, commonly the oral cavity shows inflammatory and fibrous lesions, which are more common than the malignancies. These inflammatory and reactive lesions will go one by one. First of all, there is a lesion or entity you commonly be discussing in classes is Ephthis ulcer, sometimes known as canker sore. Canker sore is a common kind of a name, and medical terminology is Ephthis ulcers. These are common, recurrent, exceedingly painful mucosal ulcerations. Their exact mechanism of development in etiology is not known. These affect 40% of population in first 2 decades. Sometimes can be familial and are commonly associated with disorders, immunological disorders, such as autoimmune diseases, celiac disease, and inflammatory bowel diseases. These ulcers appear shallow, hyperemic, ulcerated areas with thin exudate and usually resolve in 2 weeks' time. Next, inflammatory lesion or fibrous proliferative lesions. The commonest one is pyogenic granuloma. It is an inflammatory lesion of children, young adult, and pregnant females. Surface lesion is ulcerated and red to purple and polypoidal kind of a lesion. On microscopically, it is highly vascularized granulation tissue. Pyogenic granuloma can regress and mature into dense fibrous mass or develop into peripheral ossifying fibroma. Pyogenic granuloma is actually a misnomer. It is just a collection of granulation tissue. There is no granuloma formation actually, or no pus-like inflammation. This is how this appears. It is pretty common in pregnant female. The commonest site is the gums. Sometimes they can also appear on head and neck, but oral cavity is a very common site of these pyogenic granulomas. And once you remove them, they do not recur. Fibrous proliferative lesion, other lesions which include a peripheral ossifying fibroma. These are the gingival growths which is reactive in nature. They can arise from long-standing pyogenic granuloma or develop from cells of periodontal ligament. They appear as red ulcerated nodular lesions of gingiva, and lesion can sometimes reoccur after removal, but does not have a malignant potential. Peripheral giant cell granuloma, it is a reactive inflammatory process. So you see the granuloma term in oral cavity is quite a misnomer. Each of one is a specific entity and does not necessarily represent granulomatous inflammation. So it is a reactive inflammatory process. It is covered by intact gingival mucosa. Microscopically, they contain foreign body type giant cells separated by fibrocollagenous stroma. These lesions can be capsulated but delineated and can be easily excised. So they are well demarcated, you can remove them easily. This is some fibrous exophytic. These lesions appears like these exophytic growths on the or in the oral cavity. Apart from these fibrous and proliferative lesions, certain infections which are classically associated with oral cavity lesions. These include herpes simplex virus infection. Orofacial herpetic infections are caused by herpes simplex virus type 1 or 2. These infections appear in children between 2 to 4 years of age and are often asymptomatic. In 10 to 20% of cases, they represent as acute herpetic gingivostomatitis, means the gums be inflamed hai or tongue be, with abrupt onset of vesicles and ulcerations of oral mucosa, especially gingiva. These patients also develop lymphadenopathy, fever, and rhexia irritability. Then, apart from the infection, there are certain precancerous and cancerous lesion of oral cavity. जो इनिशियल अभी हमने एंटिटीज इन्फ्लेमेटरी पढ़ी हैं, इनके अगर आप नाम से फेमिलियर है, अमंग देम एक तो पायोजेनिक ग्रैनुलोमा, ठीक है, और पायोजेनिक ग्रैनुलोमा इज वन व्हिच वी एक्सपेक्ट कि आपको अच्छी तरह पता हो व्हाट इज द एग्जैक्ट एटियोलॉजी और द अंडरलाइंग माइक्रोस्कोपी. टेस्ट के अगर आपको नाम भी सिर्फ फेमिलियर तो इट विल बी गुड इनफ. बट नाउ देयर आर दीस प्रीकैंसरस लीजन, ल्यूकोप्लेकिया, you need to know them very well. Leukoplakia is defined by WHO as a white patch or a plaque that cannot be scraped off from the oral cavity and is cannot be characterized clinically or pathologically as any other disease. You need to know this definition by heart. All leukoplakias are precancerous. Leukoplakias are mostly seen in buccal mucosa, floor of mouth, ventral surfaces of tongue, palate, or gingiva. These appear as white patches of plaques with sharply demarcated border. This can be smooth, wrinkled, raised, corrugated, or verrucous plaques. So what they are basically, they are well-defined white plaques which cannot be removed and cannot be pathologically characterized as any other disease. Microscopically, under the microscopy, they show areas of hyperkeratosis with orderly mucosal epithelium lesion with dysplastic changes merging into carcinoma in situ. So this is not always the case. Sometimes they appear absolutely benign on the microscopically, but morphologically on microscopy, they can show a spectrum. They can be showing only hyperkeratosis and no dysplasia. Then they can show low dysplastic, grade dysplastic changes, or high grade dysplastic changes, and sometimes carcinoma in situ, depending upon the person, varying from person to person. This is how the leukoplakia looks like. You can see the gum, lower gum. This shows a well-demarcated white lesion, patchy lesion, which here appears kind of a flattened. Correspondingly, on microscopically, this shows these multiple thick layer of hyperkeratosis. The underlying cells show some kind of a dysplasia here. These cells appear a bit orderly appearance, but here you can see some kind of an inflammation and maybe some low degree of dysplasia. Another lesion which is always comes along with leukoplakia or is discussed along leukoplakia is erythroplakia. So as the name indicates, leuko means white, erythro means red. A red velvety eroded area within the oral cavity at slightly depressed with surrounding mucosa. Epithelium is atypical and risk of developing carcinoma is much higher than leukoplakia. So in leukoplakia, you see variation के वो normal भी हो सकता है, सब hyperkeratosis के without dysplasia भी हो सकता है. But generally erythroplakia do show dysplasia. Microscopically severe dysplasia, carcinoma, and cytoreductive carcinomas are seen. An intense subepithelial inflammatory response is seen with vascular dilation. Because of this vascular dilatation, you see that red appearance. Speckled leukoerythroplakia, it is an intermediate form that is in between leukoplakia and erythroplakia and are rarely encountered that have characteristics both of leukoplakia and erythroplakia. This is how the erythroplakia looks like. This is a red patch. It is ulcerated. Correspondingly, on microscopically, this shows severe dysplastic changes. If you recall on the previous slide, this orderly arrangement of a leukoplakia, you can appreciate well that this orderly arrangement is not present here. These are dysplastic changes. There's dense belt of inflammation. The superficial layer is denuded and ulcerated, corresponding to this red patch known as erythroplakia. These all are the precursor lesions of oral cavity malignancies, and the most frequent oral cavity malignancy which you encounter is squamous cell carcinoma. 95% of the cancers of head and neck are squamous cell carcinomas, and the remaining are adenocarcinomas of salivary glands. The pathogenesis, it is usually a disease of middle age for chronic abusers of smoke, tobacco, and alcohol. Chewing of betel and pan is another reason which can predispose the influence. Then actinic radiations, that is sun radiations, particularly pipe smoking and certain are also the predisposing influences of cancer of lower lip. The oral cavity, especially tongue, is in individual less than 40 years of age who have no risk has been on the rise. So basically, there's a whole spectrum. Pehle sirf it was thought that the tobacco, betel nut, or pan chewing are the causes, but now we have also identified a group of people who do not have these risk factors, but still develop squamous cell carcinomas. In this group, the pathogenesis in this group of patients who are non-smokers can be either infected by HPV, but we still have another group which is also not affected by human papilloma virus. In oropharynx, as per as 70% of squamous cell carcinomas are those which involve tonsil and base of tongue, and are also frequently associated with oncogenic variants of human papilloma virus, such as human papilloma virus 16. The human papilloma virus associated squamous cell carcinoma of oropharynx was not as so much common, but in recent years, we see a lot of numbers associated with these virus. Molecularly, there's accumulation of mutation and epigenetic changes that alter the expression and functions of oncogene and tumor suppressor genes. This leads to resistance of cell death, increased proliferation of cells, angiogenesis, and ability to invade and metastasize. The tumor formation involves mutations in p53 gene, p63, and Notch1. HPV-associated squamous cell carcinomas express E6 and E7 oncoproteins, which actually influence the expression of p16, and there is ultimately inactivation of p53 and RB pathway. So human papilloma virus associated squamous cell carcinoma, though ये pathogenesis आपने third year में पढ़ा है neoplasia development में, but it can be repeatedly asked here also. Clinically, how does it correspond? Clinically, again, जिस तरह हमने वो carcinoma sequence पढ़ा था, normal mucosa है with not any genetic alterations, then there is hyperplasia, hyperkeratosis, eventually leading into mild to moderate dysplasia and severe dysplasia. In the time hyperplasia or moderate dysplasia area, there is a gene segment involved. In case the p16 tumor आपका जो oncogene है at 3p chromosome, then there's loss of p53 at 17p gene, and eventually there is cyclin D and certain other mutations which accumulate to form frank squamous cell carcinomas. But the sequence is usually a normal mucosa, then somewhat a reactive mucosa showing hyperplasia, hyperkeratosis. Because of this repeated turnover, there is low-grade dysplasia. Low-grade dysplasia is defined in squamous cell or oral cavity as the dysplasia which is limited to the upper one-third. When the dysplasia involves more than two-third thickness of the mucosa or full thickness, it is known as severe dysplasia. So बाकी जगहों पर हम सिर्फ जैसे हम गट में या एडिनोमास में पढ़े थे, वहां पे हम फीचर्स वाइज हाई ग्रेड और लो ग्रेड डिस्प्लेजिया क्लासिफाई करते हैं, बट इन ओरल कैविटी और in squamous in tumors involving squamous epithelium, we define low grade, moderate or severe dysplasia based upon the thickness or depth of involvement of the lesion. Upper one third low grade dysplasia, moderate hota hai agar middle two third aa jaye, if more than middle two third or entire thickness, it is severe dysplasia. Classical oral squamous cell carcinoma, the favorite locations are the ventral surface of tongue, very important for MCQ and Viva. The floor of mouth, lower lip, soft palate, and gingiva. The most common site is ventral surface of tongue. These can be preceded by pre-malignant lesions such as erythroplakia, leukoplakia, Plummer-Wilson syndrome, low-grade dysplasia. All these are precursor lesions. Grossly, they can appear as raised from pearly plaques or irregular roughened verrucous areas of mucosal thickening and mistaken for leukoplakia or erythroplakia. That is कि उनको mistake किया जा रहा होता है कि maybe सिर्फ कोई precursor lesion ही लिखेगा, but on biopsy they turn out to be invasive tumors. As these mass enlarge, typically create ulceration of protruding mass that have irregular and indurated border. So a kind of take-home message for these oral cavity lesions is that oral cavity के किसी भी lesion को you shouldn't take it lightly. Everything is worrisome unless proven by biopsy. Microscopically, they are benign as these begin as dysplastic changes, which may or may not progress to full thickness dysplasia, that is carcinoma in situ. So full thickness dysplasia के लिए हम एक term alternatively use करेंगे carcinoma in situ. That is before invading the underlying connective tissue stroma. Squamous cell carcinoma can range from well-differentiated keratinizing neoplasms to anaplastic and sometimes sarcomatoid differentiation. So more better differentiated squamous cell carcinoma, more it will look like a normal epithelium and develop keratin pearls. Still you can identify intercellular bridges. जैसे जैसे वो अपनी differentiation lose करना शुरू करेगा, उसका squamous normal squamous epithelium से उसकी शक्ल बदलनी शुरू हो जाएगी. Anaplastic means it will be haphazard, oddly looking cells which may not resemble the squamous cells at all, and then they can eventually develop into spindled cell. When they appear spindled, we use the term sarcomatoid tumors. They vary from slowly to rapidly growing lesions. They invade locally. The favorite site is the local metastasis, and that is cervical lymph nodes. So again, important to remember, oral cavity squamous cell carcinomas frequently metastasize to number one, the favorite most place will be cervical lymph nodes. Distant mets into mediastinal lymph nodes, lung, liver, and bone can occur. So with this was a brief kind of overall view of oral cavity. Then we'll come to another topic, the second part of the lecture, which is salivary gland. There are three major salivary glands, parotid, submandibular, and sublingual, and many minor salivary glands in mucosa of oral cavity. So we'll go one by one with different entities affecting them. First one is the xerostomia. It is defined as dry mouth resulting from decreased production of saliva. In some population, its incidence is 20%, people over the 70 years of age. It usually results from an autoimmune disorder known as Sjogren's syndrome, in which it is usually accompanied by dry eyes. Xerostomia only means dry mouth. जब पूरा syndrome में appear हो रहा है with dry eyes, it is an autoimmune disorder known as Sjogren's syndrome. The lack of salivary gland secretion is the major effect, can also be a major effect of radiation therapy and many medications like anticholinergic, antidepressants, diuretics, antihypertensives, and antihistamines. In Sjogren's syndrome, the autoimmunity is caused by widespread inflammation of salivary gland and mucus secreting glands, which causes xerostomia and concomitant involvement of lacrimal glands of eyes, leading to dry eyes and keratoconjunctivis sicca. So basically होता ये एक underlying mechanism है कि there is an autoimmune attack of inflammatory cells to your own salivary glands. These salivary glands जहाँ जहाँ located होंगे वहाँ वहाँ उनका secretion destroy होगा and they will either result in xerostomia, that is dry mouth, or dry eyes. There is another entity which is very commonly seen in salivary gland, that is known as ranula. Ranula actually means tongue-like projection, but they are in fact in oral cavity. These are epithelial lined cysts that arise when the duct of sublingual glands has been damaged. So it is not actually specified to sublingual gland, any oral cavity gland, but most common is sublingual. Or जो around आपके tongue की होती है, if it develops the cyst of the duct, it can collect mucous material and appear like a polypoidal lesion, which is known as ranula. Microscopy confirms this. These are benign. Once removed, do not reoccur. Mumps. Mumps is a common type of viral salidinitis, which frequently affects parotid gland. These entities of oral cavity and salivary glands are going just like randomly, जैसे हम short discussion करें. Most likely आपको बहुत कोई detailed question में शायद ना, except the squamous cell carcinoma of oral cavity, erythroplakia and leukoplakia, but these are very important for MCQs. Inflammation of salivary gland is known as salidinitis. Salidinitis so mumps के साथ जो associated आपकी lung की parotid gland की inflammation होगी, we'll call it salidinitis. There's another entity which affects salivary gland. These are mucoceles. These are the common types of mucocele is a kind of a cyst or leakage of saliva into surrounding connective tissue and occurs due to rupture of salivary gland. Most often mucoceles are found in lower lip and occur because of trauma. So we have a differentiation between microscopically आपको ranula और mucocele को differentiate करना है. Ranula is a cyst which is lined by actually ductal epithelium of salivary gland. Mucocele does not have its own epithelium, but just it is the presence of mucoid or salivary gland material or salivary gland secretions in a fibroconnective tissue. Silolithiasis, as the name indicates, it is the formation of stone within the salivary gland duct. Silodinitis, any bacterial, traumatic, or viral inflammation of the salivary gland is known as silodinitis. Non-specific hota hai, but can be sometimes you can identify a specific reason such as autoimmune or bacterial infections. This is a diagrammatic picture of mucocele. Mucocele is a common lesion hai. It is more common than ranula. This is a cyst kind of a thing which appears in lower lip, classic site in lower lip, and you can see this is the mucoid or histiocytic salivary gland. Yes, saliva hai within a cyst showing ruptured kind of non-epithelial surface. It is just an invasion, extravasation of salivary gland material in the fibroconnective tissue. Then there are certain neoplasms which affect the salivary gland. The benign one includes pleomorphic adenoma, common most. इसको आपको डिटेल में प्रैक्टिकल में भी पढ़ाएंगे. Warthin tumor, which the other name for papillary cyst एडिनोमा लिम्फेटोजम, इसका नाम भी याद रखना आपके लिए जरूरी है इसी केस में, बाकी जगह पे हम आपसे अपनी मुश्किलात नहीं पूछेंगे. Oncocytoma, other adenomas like basal cell adenoma, canalicular adenoma, and ductal papilloma. Of these, we expect कि आपको ये दोनों first pleomorphic adenoma and Warthin tumor का पता हो. Malignant tumors, mucoepidermoid carcinoma, non-specific adenocarcinomas, acidic cell carcinomas, adenoid cystic carcinomas, malignant mixed cell tumors, sometimes squamous cell carcinoma of salivary gland can also occur, and there are unclassifiable carcinomas which account for about 2%. So we'll begin with the pleomorphic adenoma. Pleomorphic adenoma top पे आपको जो बात याद रखनी है, it is a benign tumor of salivary gland. 1, 2, it is pleomorphic. Pleomorphic का मतलब ये नहीं है कि इसका एक सेल दूसरे सेल से नहीं मिल रहा है. It is a kind of a misnomer. Pleomorphic का word यहाँ पे इस सेंस में यूज हुआ है that it will show epithelial and mesenchymal components of different types. So it is a mixture. Of mixture of ductal epithelial, myoepithelial cells and show both epithelial and mesenchymal differentiation. These tumors are also known as mixed tumors or benign mixed tumors. They represent 60% of tumors of parotid gland and are less common in submandibular gland and rare in minor salivary gland. So, commonest site of pleomorphic adenoma will be parotid gland. Radiation exposure increases the risk. Some cases are associated with chromosomal arrangements involving PLAG1 gene. ये भी आपको थोड़ा सा MCQ के लिए पता होना चाहिए. It is a kind of a recent development that initially pleomorphic adenoma were thought कि ये genetically linked शायद नहीं है किसी उसके साथ, but अब ऐसा नहीं है. On continuous research, in cases there presence of gene PLAG1 gene mutations have been identified and associated with pleomorphic adenoma. Morphologically, grossly they appear as well-demarcated masses, rounded, rarely exceeding 6 centimeter in diameter. Capsule is not fully developed, so partially capsulated. कहीं capsule होगा, कहीं होगा. And show an expansile growth process proluding into surrounding salivary gland. Expansile का मतलब तब ये होता है कि जब actually it is not infiltrating but pushing the other structures away. And on cut surface, it is gray-white with myxoid and blue translucent areas. बड़ी typical सी इसकी cut surface होती है. The moment on microscope, on gross or on biopsy, we cut it, we have that feeling of gritty and cartilaginous kind of a feel, which gives myxoid and blue translucent areas. Microscopically, तीन चीजें होती हैं इसके अंदर: epithelial component, myoepithelial component, and mesenchymal component. So the epithelial elements can resemble either ductal epithelium, ducts बना सकती हैं, glands बना सकती हैं. Myoepithelial cells can be arranged around those ducts, forming acini, irregular tubules, and strands of sheath. These are dispersed in mesenchymal background. So this is what basically helps us to identify the mesenchymal background. Classically consists of islands of cartilage. Sometimes there can be ossification or bone formation. The epithelial component can also be squamous. So epithelial component का कोई भी type हो सकती है. Gland बनाएगा, squamous epithelium हो सकती है, acini बन रहे हैं, ducts बन रही हैं, ठीक है. और surrounding जो mesenchymal tissue है, it can be fatty, but most commonly fatty or major, but most commonly it is cartilage with sometimes formation of bone. So there's a whole mixture of things. This is how they classically appear. Actually एक clinically term भी वो कहते हैं कि जो आपकी in front of ear around lower जो आपके, it is almost pleomorphic adenoma. If it is behind the ear, it is usually lymph node. So this is located in front of the ear, and on cut surface you can see these myxoid areas. So this is how the classical pleomorphic adenoma looks like. It is partially encapsulated, containing capsule miss हो रहा है, but mostly you can see it is well demarcated. And it is expansile, that is pushing the normal salivary gland to one side. Closer look on microscopically, this is what we were talking about, the typical chondromyxoid stroma या cartilaginous, ये interchangeable terms है. Chondromyxoid stroma या cartilaginous stroma है जो कि mesenchymal component को show कर रहा है. And this is the epithelial component. इस epithelial component में अगर हम ज़्यादा करीब जाएंगे तो हमें myoepithelial और epithelial cells दोनों identify होंगे. Some of you may ask, how do we differentiate between epithelial and myoepithelial? First is experience. Secondly, myoepithelial cells are usually outer layer of the epithelial cells. Clinically, these tumors represent as painless, growing, mobile, discrete masses within the parotid and submandibular areas in buccal cavity. Recurrence rate with paroidectomy is 4% and with simple enucleation 25%. So they have a pretty chance of recurrence. Pleomorphic adenoma में recurrence होना does not indicate its malignancy. It is just a reason कि आप parotid gland को उसको पूरा enucleate नहीं कर पाते. There's sometimes a remaining strip, especially अगर superficial parotidectomy हो. So complete paroidectomy is usually curative, but it is a difficult procedure to achieve. Facial nerve compromise करनी पड़ती है. A carcinoma rising in it is referred as carcinoma ex pleomorphic adenoma. ये term से आपको familiar होना चाहिए. Carcinoma ex pleomorphic adenoma का मतलब है कि अब develop हो गया है. Previously it was documented as pleomorphic adenoma. The other name which we used for it is malignant mixed tumor. दोनों में फर्क ये होता है कि malignant mixed tumor आप तब कहते हैं जब आपको पहले ना पता हो कि pleomorphic adenoma था या documented नहीं था. Carcinoma ex pleomorphic adenoma तब term use करते हैं when it was previously documented the patient को pleomorphic adenoma था इस site पे. These are when once they develop malignancy, they can be very aggressive, and survival rate for 5 years is only 30 to 50%. The next entity, the tumor, is Warthin tumor. The other name for Warthin tumor is papillary cyst adenoma lymphatosum. I'll tell you why we call this मुश्किल सा नाम क्यों है इसका. It is the second most common salivary gland neoplasm occurring exclusively in parotid glands. One, mostly it is common. It occurs in 5th to 7th decade of life. 10% are multifocal and bilateral. If I ask you what is the commonest bilateral tumor of salivary gland, you have to name Warthin tumor. It has great strong association with smoking. Morphologically, grossly, they are round to oval encapsulated masses ranging in 2 to 5 centimeter in size and arising in superficial parotid gland and are easily palpable. Cut surface shows pale gray punctuated by narrow cyst of cleft-like spaces filled with mucinous or serous material. But for practical purpose, एक तो जब हम elderly middle-aged male around 50 years of age और bilateral salivary gland palpation पे tumor नजर आ रहा तो our top preferential is always Warthin tumor. और cut surface में it shows इसका जब FN हम करते हैं ना FN fine needle aspiration, it shows a motor oil kind of a consistency of the material within the tumor and it is very classically associated with Warthin tumor. Microscopically, these spaces are lined by it is a cystic neoplasm. And there are spaces lined by double layer of epithelium, inner cuboidal or polygonal, outer columnar containing numerous granules. This granularity is because of the presence of mitochondria, feature referred to as oncocytes. So, अंदर जो layer है वो typical epithelial layer होगी, outer oncocytic layer होगी. Secretory cells are present in between the columnar cells. Epithelial cells rest on dense lymphoid stroma, sometimes having germinal centers. In between these spaces, narrowed by polypoidal projections of lipoepithelial elements are noted. They are benign neoplasm and up to 2% can reoccur. So, अगर आप ये figure इस वक्त देख लें, it is a cystic neoplasm. It is showing papillary projections. These papillary projections are lined by outer inner epithelial layer है और outer oncocytic layer है. Oncocytic layer आप तब कहते हैं जब cytoplasm ज़्यादा हो जाए, epithelial cell का उसमें granules आ जाए, with underlying stroma showing lymphoid tissue. So, cystic neoplasm with papillary projections, papillary हो गया, cyst adenoma because cystic है, adenoma क्योंकि epithelial component है, and lymphatosum because of this lymphoid stroma. So, this makes the features of Warthin tumor. Again, जो चीज़ आपको याद रखनी है, एक इसकी histology, the other thing, it is commonly the most frequently occurring bilateral salivary gland tumor. Third, it has strong association with smoking and usually occur in men around 50 years of age. Mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So mucoepidermoid carcinoma is a malignant tumor of salivary gland. अब तक हमने जो Warthin और pleomorphic adenoma पढ़ा था, those are benign. Can somebody please tell me कि time कितना है इस lecture का रह गया?
Ma'am, 10 minutes are left.
ठीक है. So mucoepidermoid carcinomas are composed of, these are the malignant salivary gland tumors and they are composed of 3 types of cells. Number 1, squamous cells. Number 2, mucus secreting cells. And number 3, intermediate cells which do not show कि either वो squamous है या mucus है but appear clear. These represent 15% for false salivary gland tumor and 60 to 70% occur in parotid glands. The tumor is associated with balanced chromosomal translocation. जो commonest chromosomal translocation है वो gene fusion है between MECP1 and MAML2. पर अगर आपको एक याद रखनी है तो MAML2 इसको MAML2 कहते हैं. ये वाली mutation is commonly associated with mucoepidermoid carcinoma and plays a major role in genesis of tumor, affecting Notch and CAMP dependent signaling pathway. Morphologically, they grow as large masses and lack well-defined capsule. They are extremely appear infiltrative at the margins. On cut surface, they contain mucus containing. They can be actually cystic or solid, both appearance, and sometimes mucus can be seen on cut surface. Microscopically, the basic histological pattern is of cord, sheets, and cystic configuration of squamous, mucous, or intermediate cells. Hybrid cells with squamous features having mucin can be seen. These are classified or graded as low grade, intermediate, and high grade based upon features like necrosis, apoptosis, perinuclear invasion, etc. Clinically, the course depends upon the grade of tumor क्या है. Low grade है, intermediate है या high grade है. Low grade tumors can invade locally and reoccur, but do not metastasize usually. Intermediate and high grade tumors are difficult to remove altogether because they are highly infiltrative. उनका pattern या border ही नहीं पता चल रहा था. We have to remove it completely. And show frequent metastasis to distant sites. This is how the mucoepidermoid carcinoma looks like. This is kind of squamoid cells है, ठीक है? Then there are cells जिनके अंदर आपको ये pink material नजर आ रहा है correspondingly there. This is mucin. ये जो stain किया हुआ है yellow background and pink secretion, इसको mucicarmine stain कहते हैं. Stain से आप mucin identify करते हैं cell के अंदर. So this mucicarmine stain is showing mucin stain. Back to the H&E, these are the squamoid cells. Then you saw mucoid cells, and then there are certain these clear cells, which are known as intermediate cells. All these three together form the mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Another malignant tumor of salivary gland is adenoid cystic carcinoma. It is not a very common tumor, but it is why we discuss it because it notoriously involves minor salivary gland. Okay? So the commonest tumor, malignant tumor of minor salivary gland is adenoid cystic carcinoma. It not only affects oral cavity, but is reportedly reported in nose, sinuses, and upper airway like larynx or trachea के अंदर भी, and sometimes in breast and other locations. Grossly, they are usually small tumor nodules, but not capsulated, not well defined, and show extremely infiltrative pattern. On microscopically, there are small dark cells with compact nuclei and scanty cytoplasm. These cells form tubules, solid or cribriform pattern. The spaces between the cells is filled with hyaline material, and they can resemble cylindromas of adnexal tumors of skin. So they can resemble very benign lesions, but they are actually in fact highly malignant and infiltrative. This is the classic appearance of adenoid cystic carcinoma. आपको इसकी बहुत डिटेल इतनी बतानी चाहिए that it is a malignant neoplasm of, at least you should know that it is a malignant neoplasm of salivary gland. It most commonly affects minor salivary gland, and it shows this kind of a pattern. ये जो आपको नजर आ रहा है जिसमें आपको इतने इतने ये punched out lesions नजर आ रहे हैं. This is known as the cookie cutter pattern or cribriform pattern of adenoid cystic carcinoma. ठीक है? One other feature, they classically show extensive perineural invasion. Perineural invasion का मतलब होता है कि nerve की periphery को involve करना. So this is actually a nerve, light pink wavy nuclei, and these are these tumor cells which are invading the perineural spaces. And this is because of this perineural extensive infiltration के इस tumor के साथ pain बहुत associated होती है because nerves को involve कर रहे हैं. और secondly इसके इतने minute infiltrative pattern की वजह से इसका complete excision बड़ा मुश्किल है, and it tends to reoccur again and again, and it frequently even involves bone. So this was the end of lecture. If there are questions, please ask. आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं.
Ma'am, no questions.
ठीक है, चलें. आपको एक जो है tentative date for your GI test will be around 5th May. आपको Google document के थ्रू हम MCQs ही पूछेंगे. If there will be viva, then you will be informed ahead of time. आपके GR जो है वो डॉक्टर आबिर आजमी से कोऑर्डिनेट कर सकते हैं, विल फाइंड इन टेंटेटिव डेट आपके वायरल टेस्ट की जो है फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ मई है.
Okay, ma'am.
So we'll end lecture here. Probably आप लोगों को इन्फॉर्म कर दिया है नेक्स्ट आपके लेक्चर्स का किस टॉपिक का.
Ma'am, there is a question.
जी जी.
Explain the cribriform pattern of adenoid cystic carcinoma.
Cribriform pattern of basically cribriform का मतलब है, I'll just show you this one. This is cribriform. Basically इसको cookie cutter या cribriform pattern कहते हैं. अगर आप में से especially girls will be familiar. Have you seen those cutters जिनसे मुख्तलिफ size की cookies काटी जाती हैं? It is of variable sizes. It gets its name from that cutter basically. You see the cribriforming और cookie cutter means same. एक solid mass है जिसके बीच में मुख्तलिफ punched out spaces है. ट्यूमर सेल्स ने यहाँ पर ग्लैंड्स बड़े ही punched out well defined से बनाए हुए, which are closely associated but of variable shape. This is the cribriform pattern. Cribriform basically होता क्या है? Sieve like pattern, छन्नी का pattern. मतलब आपको कोई variable holes की size की छन्नी नजर आ रही है. This is the cribriform pattern, or in a more sophisticated and English manner, cookie cutter pattern.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, is there another question?
No, ma'am.
So we'll end the lecture here. Best of luck for your test. If there are any questions, you can take my email address or can leave the message with Dr. Raja and we can discuss again.